if you're here and you're a scratch golfer or a professional, you can just leave because this is not going to apply to you. So I'm going to save you probably the next 10 minutes of your life. You can just go. We'll talk to you later.
Be the right club today. Yes!
What's going on, guys? G2 here. Welcome back to 3-Putt Bogey. And before we get into today's video, if you haven't already subscribed or entered our contest to win this custom ping putter that we made here on the channel, be sure to do that. That drawing will be coming up soon. So make sure that you subscribe, hit those notifications so you know when you can win this. But today I wanted to talk about something that kind of came up, and I was thinking about it a little bit over the weekend, and it's about handicaps. So, you know, there's a ton of different apps or whatever that you can use, the Grin, 18 Birdies, Arcos, just to name a few, that do a great job of establishing your handicap. And a lot of us, let's be real here, like if you're here and you're a scratch golfer or a professional, you can just leave because this is not going to apply to you. So I'm going to save you probably the next 10 minutes of your life. You can just go. We'll talk to you later. But for the rest of us who are double-digit handicaps or maybe close to getting out of the double digits, handicaps are the even playing field, right? So it allows someone who is a 7 to play with someone who is a 27 and someone who is a 13. You all can play together. You all can enjoy the game. And it just makes it more fun. But I think the trouble happens when a 27 tries to play to the level of a 7, right? You're playing with the 7, and I've been there, right? I'm playing with a scratch guy, and I'm like, Christ, I can't keep up with this guy in the fairway. I'm 3-putting. I am missing bunker shots, whatever. I'm trying to play to scratch, and I am not scratch. So I think that tends to be the frustration when you get in that rut during a round where everything is gone. The wheels have completely fallen off. You probably couldn't hit your putter flush, and you're like, I just want to go home. I want my mommy. I want to go home. Well, that's when you have to realize and think back at your handicap, right? Reasonable expectations for the level that you're at. And these apps all do a fantastic job. You have the tool right there for you to go back and to kind of bring you back down and set little goals throughout the round to get you back. And I'm going to use an example for one of the rounds that the 3-Putt Bogey crew did maybe 2-3 weeks ago, where we're all varying handicaps, and you'll see that on the screen. But at the end of the day, you're always in it. All right, so here we go. We played Pebble Creek a couple weeks ago, and you can see Scott's handicap is a 22. I'm a 5. Phil is an 11. So for the front nines, right, we didn't do great. I mean, I started off, double, 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 actually triple, double, triple. But I ended up with a 43 on the front, Scott a 47, Phil a 47. And then when we went to the back, you can see Scott ended up with a 48. I had a 41, and I had a 45. So our scores, not counting our handicap, were Scott 95, me 84, Phil 92. But again, this is all relative to your handicap, and we have handicaps for a reason. So if we go back and we look at the front nine with the handicap, everything changes. So Scott now was even par on the front. I was 4 over, and Phil was 5 over. And then as we moved to the back, Scott was 37, I was 39, Phil was 40. So, looking at our total scores with our handicap included or adjusted, Scott shot a 73, 2 over, I shot a 79, 8 over, and Phil shot an 81, 10 over. And this is why the handicap is so important. It keeps everyone in the game. So Scott may have been thinking, like, I played the absolute worst, but he really didn't. He played essentially to his handicap. The whole purpose of handicap is for you to play like you normally would, and at the end of the round, be as close to even par as you can. And he did that. So I guess here's where I'm going with this, right? We all know how handicap works, and if you were bored by that, I apologize. But this is where I wanted to kind of finish with this. So these apps give you these dots, right? I'll show you up here. You all have a dot, right? The dot amounts to or equals the additional stroke that you get per hole. So let's take hole 6. Scott gets 2 strokes on a par 5, right? So he's got to go into that hole. You have to know where you get your strokes, okay? You've got to go into that hole knowing it's a par 7, right? Just hang with me for a second. It's a par 7. So I've got 2 strokes that I can do whatever I want with, right? Maybe that allows me to play more aggressive. Maybe it allows me to play more conservatively. Maybe that changes my decision making. So if I'm in the woods, hitting my 4th shot, and I've got a little window, and I can calm my ego down and say, hey, it's 4. I can punch out. I'll be hitting 5. I'll chip up 6, make my putt 7, instead of trying to go through that little gap and Lord knows what's going to happen. You're going to be able to reduce your handicap by playing towards your handicap, making your handicap the goal. Think of the dot as your person you're playing against, not the people you're playing with. And if you are able to do that and able to kind of convince yourself to stay out of the game here and more into where your handicap is, you're going to be able to lower your handicap because you're going to be able to make better decisions. You're going to be able to play with more confidence, and you're going to be able to play more relaxed. Think of if you were to tee up on par 5 and you get 2 strokes and you know, hey, I can make a 7 here and still walk away with par, right? You may play that hole differently. You may play it smarter. You may end up getting a par natural, which with your 2 strokes is an eagle. So think of it in those terms, not necessarily the end score without the handicap adjusted, because it's just going to make you frustrated. And there's no reason. This is all why we all have jobs. We ain't professionals, right? So enjoy it, play to your handicap, but allow that handicap to make you better. Let me know in the comments what you think. I think that whenever you play with your friends, or just play in general, you should always be playing with handicaps. Yes, of course, there are sandbaggers out there that inflate their handicap to get strokes when they don't need them, and you're going to find that everywhere. There's always going to be those people, and it is what it is. But for the most part, I like to believe, and from what I've seen and the people that I've played with, people are fairly honest and accurate to their handicap. The only exception I would say would be like a member guest. Then it's all out the window. Just do whatever you got to do. But playing with friends, we all know how each other plays. We all have a pretty good idea of where someone would be. So if they don't have access to something like this, decide on what their handicap is going to be. Where are they going to get the strokes on the hole? It just makes it much more interesting and more competitive if you forget about that gross score and just think about the net with the handicap included. You're going to have more fun. You are going to be more competitive with your playing partners, and you're maybe not going to get frustrated unless you're one of those easily frustratable people that just like to break things. But for the most part, I promise you it's going to change the way that you think about golf and the way that you approach your course management and your decision making on the golf course. So next time, pull it up, see where your strokes are, play it like your handicap card says, and I promise you, you're going to be closer to par than you would if you hadn't. Until next time, G2 out.